Hello, everyone. I'm Jeremy. Today's day 146 of reading. Today, we're reading Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. Let's get started. We're on page 120. School governors have been told. Of course, said Hagrid miserably. They reckon I started too big. Should have left hippogriffs for later. Done flabberwords or something. Just started making good first lesson. It's all my fault. It's all Malfoy's fault, Hagrid, said Hermione earnestly. We are witnesses, said Harry. You said hippogriffs attack if you insult them. It's Malfoy's problem that he wasn't listening. We'll tell Dumbledore what really happened. Yeah, don't worry, Hagrid. We'll back you up, said Ron. Tears leaked out of the crinkled corners of Hagrid's beetle black eyes. He grabbed both Harry and Ron and pulled them into a bone-breaking hug. I think you had enough to drink, Hagrid, said Hermione firmly. She took the tankard from the table and went outside to empty it. Maybe she's right, said Hagrid, letting go of Harry and Ron, who both staggered away, rubbing their ribs. Hagrid heaved himself out of his chair and followed Hermione unsteadily outside. They heard a loud splash. What's he done? Said Harry nervously as Hermione came back in with the empty tankard. Stuck his head in the water barrel, said Hermione, putting his tankard away. Hagrid came back, his long hair and beard sopping wet, wiping the water out of his eyes. That's better, he said, shaking his head like a dog and drenching them all. Listen, it was good of you to come and see me. Hagrid stopped dead, staring at Harry as though he had only just realized he was there. What do you think you're doing, eh? He roared so suddenly that they jumped a foot in the air. You're not to go wandering around after dark, Harry, and you two, let in him. Hagrid strode over to Harry, grabbed his arm, and pulled him to the door. Come on, Hagrid said angrily. I'm taking you all back to school, and don't let me catch you walking down to see me after dark again. I'm not worth that. Chapter 7. The Boggart in the Wardrobe. Malfoy didn't reappear in classes until late on Thursday morning, when the Slytherins and Gryffindors were halfway through double potions. He swaggered into the dungeon, his right arm covered in bandages and bound up in a sling, acting, in Harry's opinion, as though he were the heroic survivor of some dreadful battle. How is it, Draco? Simpered Pansy Parkinson. Does it hurt much? Yeah, said Malfoy, putting on a brave sort of grimace. But Harry saw him wink at Crabbe and Goyle when Pansy had looked away. Settle down, said Professor Snape idly. Harry and Ron scowled at each other. Snape wouldn't have said settle down if they'd walked in late. He had given them detention, but Malfoy had always been able to get away with anything in Snape's class. Snape was the head of Slytherin House and generally favored his own students above all others. They were making a new potion today, a shrinking solution. Malfoy set up his cauldron right next to Harry and Ron so that they were preparing their ingredients on the same table. Sir, Malfoy called, Sir, I need help cutting up these daisy roots because of my Weasley, cut up Malfoy's roots for him, said Snape without looking up. Ron went brick red. There's nothing wrong with your arm, he hissed at Malfoy. Malfoy smirked across the table. Weasley, you heard Professor Snape. Cut up these roots. Ron seized his knife, pulled Malfoy's roots toward him, and began to chop them roughly, so that they were all different sizes. Professor, drawled Malfoy, Weasley's mutilating my roots, sir. Snape approached their table, stared down his hooked nose at the roots, then gave Ron an unpleasant smile from beneath his long, greasy black hair. Change roots with Malfoy. Weasley, but sir, Ron had spent the last quarter of an hour carefully shredding his own roots into exactly equal pieces. "Now," said Snape in his most dangerous voice. Ron shoved his own beautifully cut roots across the table at Malfoy, then tucked up the knife again. "And, sir, I'll need this shrivel fig skinned," said Malfoy, his voice full of malicious laughter. "Potter, you can skin Malfoy's shrivel fig," said Snape, giving Harry the look of loathing he always reserved just for him. Harry took Malfoy's shrivel fig as Ron began trying to repair the damage to the roots he now had to use. Harry skinned the shrivel fig as fast as he could and flung it back across the table at Malfoy without speaking. Malfoy was smirking more broadly than ever. "Seen your pale Hagrid lately?" he asked them quietly. "None of your business," said Ron jerkily, without looking up. "I'm afraid he won't be a teacher much longer," said Malfoy in a tone of mock sorrow. "Father's not very happy about my injury." "Keep talking, Malfoy, and I'll give you a real injury," snarled Ron. "He's complained to the school governors and to the Ministry of Magic. Father's got a lot of influence, you know, and a lasting injury like this," he gave a huge fake sigh. "Who knows if my arm will ever be the same again. So that's why you're putting it on," said Harry, accidentally beheading a dead caterpillar because his hand was shaking in anger. Try to get Hagrid fired. "Well," said Malfoy, lowering his voice to a whisper, "partly, Potter, but there are other benefits too. Weasley, slice my caterpillars for me." A few cauldrons away, Neville was in trouble. Neville regularly went to pieces in potion lessons. It was his worst subject, and his great fear of Professor Snape made things 10 times worse. His potion, which was supposed to be a bright, acid green, had turned orange. "Longbottom," said Snape, ladling some up and allowing it to splash back into the cauldron, so that everyone could see. "Orange, tell me, boy, does anything penetrate that thick skull of yours? Didn't you hear me say quite clearly that only one rat spleen was needed? Didn't I state plainly that a dash of leech juice would suffice? What do I have to do to make you understand, Longbottom?" "Please," Neville was pink and trembling. He looked as though he was on the verge of tears. "Please, sir," said Hermione. "Please, I could help Neville put it right. I don't remember asking you to show off, Miss Granger," said Snape coldly, and Hermione went as pink as Neville. "Longbottom, at the end of this lesson we will feed a few drops of this potion to your toad and see what happens. Perhaps that will encourage you to do it properly." Snape moved away, leaving Neville breathless with fear. "Help me," he moaned to Hermione. "Hey, Harry," said Seamus Finnegan, leaning over to borrow Harry's brass scales. "Have you heard? Daily Prophet this morning. They reckon Sirius Black's been sighted." "Where?" said Harry and Ron quickly. On the other side of the table, Malfoy looked up, listening closely. "Not too far from here," said Seamus, who looked excited. "It was a Muggle who saw him. 'Course, she didn't really understand. The Muggles think he's just an ordinary criminal, don't they? So she phoned the telephone hotline. By the time the Ministry of Magic got there, he was gone." "Not too far from here," Ron repeated, looking significantly at Harry. He turned around and saw Malfoy watching closely. "What, Malfoy? Need something else skinned?" "Thank you, everyone. That's all for today. Bye. See you tomorrow." Dun, 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 dun.